What's up, Lego builders? Welcome back to Coconut Brick Studios, and today I'm going to be reviewing this custom ATTE design by David Buckles. Before we get into the meat of the review, I want to give you guys a few stats or specs on this vehicle. So this is about 2,100 pieces, just over a foot long and 10 inches to a foot tall. So very massive walker. You can find the instructions for it on BrickVault. They cost $26. And the total cost for this ATTE is anywhere from $290 to about $320 US. It's kind of tough to nail down the exact price of this because you have to order all the parts from Bricklink, and so shipping can change and price parts can change, but plan for anywhere in that range. This is kind of a new review for me, or a new style. I typically review official Lego Star Wars sets, so I've never reviewed a custom mock of this size and detail. So bear with me if it's not the best review. I did try to make it as entertaining and as speedy as possible. I also have very exciting news regarding this walker and my channel. So this coming week, I'm going to be live streaming on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturday, and I'm going to be building a mock with you guys on the live stream. So we're going to include this ATTE, but you guys are going to help me pick pretty much every aspect of the build. What planet I build on, what clone troopers I use, what other vehicles I use, what droids I have, what droid vehicles I use. I really wanted to use this in a mock, and since I'm going to be doing Utapau for the next, seems like forever, I wanted to take a quick opportunity to be able to put this in a mock, and I thought it'd be fun to build a mock with you guys. But enough talk, let's get on with the review. First thing I want to point out about this walker is that when you buy the instructions, you have two options to build. You have the Clone Wars variant and the Episode 2 variant. This is the Clone Wars variant. I picked that one just because I love the Clone Wars, but I just wanted you guys to be aware if anybody does plan on buying this at any point, you do also have the option to build the version from Episode 2. There isn't a whole lot of difference between the two. It's just a few minor cosmetic details on the outside as well as some different coloring. I have a lot to cover in this review, and I really want to try and make it as quick as possible so I don't bore you guys with too many details. So what we're going to do is start in the front here and just kind of work our way back. In the front, we have 4 forward-facing laser cannons on ball turrets. These are pretty iconic and a pretty recognizable feature of the ATTE. And then up here in the front, we have the cockpit where the driver sits up here in front, and then behind him you have the spotter who finds targets for and coordinates with the gunners. The cockpit area slides back into the walker fairly easy. This is pretty similar to Lego's playset version as well, so if any of you guys have that, it's pretty much the same function. Here under the front main body, we have the connection of the front legs to the main body of the walker. And I wanted to show you guys this because I thought this was really cool. It's actually connected to the body in 2 spots. You have a ball joint right here and then another ball joint right here. So you have 2 separate connections to this walker, and the designer did this on purpose because this thing is so heavy. If you were to connect it with just either of these ball joints, the walker would crush itself with its own weight. I guess while we're down here, we can take a quick look at the underside. Typically Lego sets don't really have anything going on down on the underside, but the impressive thing about this walker is you have lots of fun little detailing right here. None of this is super critical to the functionality of the walker, but you have just kind of what looks like a drivetrain back here, something like that. Then you have some wires or pistons, whatever you want to call them. Just fun little stuff that he didn't have to put in, but he added anyways. Now moving up to the main cannon on top of the walker. This unfortunately is one of my least favorite areas of this build, and I will show you guys why. So you do have a pretty wide range of motion when it comes to moving up and down. You can tilt the cannon up like that. You can rotate it 360 degrees, but what I don't like is if you rotate the cannon to the side like this, you can't rotate it up and down. It's on a fixed turntable, and so this is the only direction you can go up and down. Unless you kind of tilt the cannon like this, you can get a little bit of an incline on that barrel, but that's unfortunate because if you're trying to target any flying objects to the side of the walker, you kind of have to lean them like that, and that's about as high as you can get. This entire top front plate comes off pretty easily, which allows you to get inside the front of the walker, and if you want to do any kind of modifications to this gun, you can kind of take it off easily. But I just wanted to show you guys some of the cool detailing on the back here. You've got a little control panel as well as this awesome little seat with an adjustable backrest and headrest, which all in all, I think it looks really cool. I just wish you got a little bit more posability when you're turning on the side like that. Moving on to the front half interior, you have an absolute ton of detail. So here on the front sides, you can see there are two gunner chairs. I moved the armored panel right here so you could kind of see, but both chairs are identical. And these are where the gunners for these 4 laser cannons would sit. And then here in the middle, we have the troop transport area. There are 6 seats for 6 clone troopers, as well as 3 little clips on either side to hold their blasters. And then this thing right here is a cool little detail. This is actually supposed to represent a hatch that will lead into a passage that goes into the back of the walker. This doesn't actually work, but it's just a cool little nod to the actual walker. And each of the gunner's chairs have this cool little control panel. Here in the middle of the walker, we have what is one of the most unique play features I've ever seen on a custom MOC, and that is the ability to swivel this entire walker at its half. So you can kind of make it look like it's turning, or you can kind of pose the legs if you want to get a little bit more dynamic of a walking pose. And I just think this is really cool because this is how the actual walker functions in the Star Wars galaxy, and just to be able to get something this big to be able to twist and rotate like that while still maintaining a sturdy structure is just incredible. So I tip my hat to the designer for that. As well, we also have a little carry handle right here. It's kind of tough to get out. As you guys can see, I'm struggling a little bit, but once you get it out, it makes for a pretty sturdy hold. I can kind of shake it around and move it. I've carried it quite a bit and haven't had it drop yet. Before we move on to the back of the walker, I want to show you guys how your clone troopers are able to access this walker, and that's through these doors on the side. I didn't know this was an actual function of the walker, and when I saw this, I was just blown away. This is so cool, and just such a high level of attention to detail of the actual walker, because this is where the doors are to get into the walker in the actual Star Wars universe. And as you guys can see, he put little pieces right here to kind of simulate a ladder. The clones can't really practically climb up this spot, but I just thought this was a really cool little feature, and it's really fun to lower these down, and it makes for making really cool scenes. Moving on to the back, you have 2 more legs that are pretty much identical to the smaller front legs, and then you have 2 ball turrets to protect the rear of the walker. There is a fairly large gap right here between the back of the walker and this top panel. When you set it down right there, you can kind of see in there, which is unfortunate. This back panel lifts off just like the front panel. It's not really connected to the walker, which allows you easy access to the back. And what we have here is pretty similar to the front. You guys can see these twin gunner seats a little bit better just because they're not covered up. And then once again, you have 6 seats for clone troopers, and then you also have more carry handles, and then here is the back hatch that would lead you to the front of the walker. These seats right here are pretty cool. Instead of just getting an actual Lego seat, you actually put together kind of a cool little custom seat with a backrest that's at a little bit of an angle. I don't know if you guys can see that, which allows your clone troopers to lean back just a little bit. On the side of the walker, you have these 2 larger legs that are the same on each side, and they have a double connection to the walker just like the other 4. You guys can see right here, there is a ball joint little connection right here, and then it's connected to this part of the walker with pegs. It's not a super posable walker. You can get a little bit of movement in there, but I thought this was really interesting because this is actually accurate to the actual walker. It's connected right here, and then it has a small piston right there connecting to the walker. So once again, I'm impressed with how closely the designer paid attention to the actual walker to try and keep his model accurate. This is one of my favorite books called Star Wars Incredible Cross Sections. It just takes vehicles from the Star Wars galaxy and kind of cuts them open and allows you guys to see the interior. And I wanted to show you this just because I wanted to show you how accurate this AT-TE is to the actual one. You guys can see here's all the seats right here. He obviously wasn't able to include as many clone trooper seats. This AT-TE is able to hold 10 clone troopers in each section, while his was able to only include 6. But right here you have the gunner seat with the control panel, as well as on the other side you have the clone spotter as well as the driver right here in the front, and then the external gunner right here. And then you guys can kind of see it right there, but there is the bottom half of the hatch that leads to the back of the vehicle. And then on either side of the seats, you have the weapons rack. Here in the back, you can see there's also more seats and then more gunners. Now that the review's over, I'm going to give you guys my thoughts and opinions on the set, having built and played with it a little bit. First off, I want to answer the question, why did I buy this in the first place? As a lot of you guys know, I have a bunch of ATTEs already, and the reason I bought this one is because this is my all-time favorite walker in the Star Wars galaxy. I have loved it since I was a kid, and I hope to have just all the different kinds of iterations and versions that you can buy, with the exception of Captain Rex's ATTE from Rebels. Not a huge fan of that one. I like the fact that it was built in minifigure scale. This doesn't happen a whole lot, and so it's really cool to be able to put this in a mock and to really feel like you're getting the accurate size and scale as you would see in the movies. There are, however, a few things that I don't like about this walker, and the first is the design of the legs. They are fairly flimsy and tend to break. I had to modify them in a couple different places, as well as I don't really like this turret area. Like I said earlier in the review, I wish you could turn it on its side and tilt it up at the same time, and there are one or two things else that I will have to mod. But overall, those are not too big of a deal. Ultimately, I think it is a very well-designed set, and obviously I wasn't expecting something that's super sturdy or super playable because this is a custom mock built mostly for display. But as far as recommending this vehicle goes, I would not recommend this to the casual builder. This is something for more of a hardcore fan like me. If you really love the ATTE, or you're building a giant mock and you feel like you have to have a accurately scaled walker, then this is definitely something for you. But if you're still kind of on the newer side of things when it comes to building Legos, I would definitely practice on some other sets before you get your hands on this bad boy, because it's full of lots of complicated techniques and procedures. Well, that about wraps up this review. For anybody who's stuck around this long, thank you so much for watching this review. I hope you guys enjoyed this mock. I think it's awesome, and I'm really excited to be able to use this in future mocks. If you guys like this video, don't forget to leave me a big thumbs up, and don't forget to let me know what you think of this walker down below in the comments. I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. But as always, until next time, happy building.